guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Fast discussion number 293, New Remnants 2 and 1.0 marketing plan, and I'm joined by Fiction as always.
Hello, everyone.
So this is a really good Friday Facts, really interesting. First off, as you can see with this awesome screenshot, this is kind of the follow-up to Remnants in the Friday Facts 288. Um, or actually, I think it was last week's. I'm not sure, but as a
Well, they
conclusion,
did say 288.
Um, yeah, I guess that is true. As for the conclusion of the topic opened in that, we finally decided to go for a balanced solution in which the player can recognize what entity was destroyed and also walk through them. Solution of going up the z-axis is really attractive for designing destroyed models, but it gives a lot of headaches to the game designers due to its need of a bounding box. Uh, they're planning also a generic set of remnants for the modders who don't feel like making the destroyed version of their own machines. Here an example of how Factory can look after a biter attack. Um, which is, I love this. This is so cool.
I
Um,
like how the belt just kind of falls apart.
yeah, yeah, me too.
You see
Like,
the little individual pieces of belt just completely in disarray.
yeah, and I mean, I just really like all of it. I like how there's like the top part of a gun turret sitting there, and the rest is just like obliterated. Um, and then I think my favorite out of all this is the car, where it looks
It
like
just
it just
fell
got
apart.
like smashed by a bulldozer or something.
Or by the Hulk, yeah.
Yeah, by the Hulk. And the solar panel looks super great. This is just so cool. I think it just adds a lot of life to the game. Like when you actually get an attack, instead of just like random, completely unrecognizable piles of rubble, you get stuff that actually looks like your factory was attacked and destroyed.
Yeah, this is really good. I like this new aesthetic.
Yeah, me too. It's really great. So these remnants are still work in progress. Many of them are not yet finished. We're playing more iterations with the subject. By now, you'll find a sneak peek in today's release, 13 or 17.36. So apparently, some entity or something in 17.36 will have a new remnants. They don't know. They don't say which one, but I guess the only solution is just to let a biter onslaught on your base and find out.
Or check the patch notes. Maybe they put it there.
That's possible. And then on to marketing plan, which is really interesting. And I'm gonna let you summarize this. I did read it and stuff, and I know what's going on. But you said you had the same thoughts as them and stuff, so I'll let you cover this.
Yeah, so I'm obviously not going to read it line for line, but because it is several paragraphs of text at this point. Um, this really resonated with me because it mirrors my preferences for advertisements. Like, I absolutely hate banner ads. I hate unskippable ads before a YouTube video or on Twitch or something like that. It's the way they phrased it in here is it's something that is being pushed into your face, and not something that they're trying to show you. They're just trying to force it down your throat, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, here it is. Radio spots that are just screaming at me and trying to get into my head without my consent.
Yeah.
Um, exactly. That's exactly how I feel about advertisements. That said, there are ways to market without going down that road, and that's what they plan to do. Um, get media outlets to talk about them. Get stories of players who've been working on the same base for 5 years or something. Like I think Mojo's belt mega base that he's been working on for how many major versions now? That
Uh,
could be a good story.
yeah, that one. I think he stopped working on it like before 17 came out, but up until that point, he'd worked on it since like 012 all the way through 16 or something.
Yeah, that would be a good case study that could generate buzz for Factorio.
Yeah.
And then they list a few examples here. Game Dev Tycoon releasing their own cracked version of games where pirates make it unplayable after a while. Or some guy played the same game of Civilization for 10 years, and here's what happened. or the story of a guy who got some visibility after making a funny post explaining why his game is actually worth $20 on the forums. Organic stories like that. That's not an advertisement that is being pushed to you. That's just something that happened, and the media covered it, and it generated a story. It generated clicks. It generated interest in the game.
Right. And yeah, I completely agree. And there's this one paragraph that I think is really important, and basically is like what you said, is that there's a lot of interesting themes that can be covered with Factorio, like its creation story or the mindset of automation and conscious self-observation of what is the biggest time-stealing thing, the programming slash engineering parallels and stuff like that. And so I
Yeah,
think,
exactly.
yeah,
Like, I'm a software engineer by profession, and Factorio mirrors what I do on a daily basis so well. And you hear so many different stories about engineers being attracted to Factorio because it is exactly what we do on a daily basis.
right, yeah, exactly. And I think it would just be, maybe at conventions or something similar to like a TED. I don't know that it could actually get on TED Talk, but like similar stuff like that, where where it's talked about like the how it really kind of triggers your critical thinking and just like problem solving skills, like more than almost any other game does, and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly. And it's not just a mindless shooter with loot boxes. It's you actually have to think to play this game properly.
Yeah, and yeah. So
Let me
there's
rephrase that. You actually have to think to succeed in this game.
yeah. I guess that would be yeah. That's a better way to say it. Um, so yeah, I think that's really good. It's awesome to know that is the mindset they have, because so many game developers, I would say almost all game developers, don't have that mindset. They're just they just go the other way. We just want to shove this at you however possible, and get as much coverage as possible regardless of the means, and like pay reviewers to give us good reviews and stuff like that, which I think is just really really bad.
Yeah, and they actually touched on this in this section too. They were offered several times to have investors give them a bunch of money so they can keep going, and they refused every single time because they don't want to give up that control.
Right. And it's paid off big time. Um,
Yeah, they've kept their integrity as a developer, in my opinion.
mm-hmm.
Um, so even though sometimes we complain about what they do, we can trust that they're going to come to the correct decision because they're following the process.
Right. Exactly. And so basically, guys, watching is they are asking in this last section somewhere in here, in this last part, they ask for help and suggestions and feedback. So on the forums and stuff, uh, let if you have ideas for how they can advertise in this way that they want, whether it be like magazines or articles or stuff like that. Leave your ideas. I saw quite a few people recommending the bounty system in Twitch, and I made a post saying personally I think that's not a good way to go for what the devs want, because like with things like the bounty system in Twitch, basically, really quick how that works is like, you get about as a streamer you get a bounty of like play this game, you get X amount of money depending how many viewers you get and stuff like that. But the thing is with that is when you agree to it, you have to agree to all these terms and stuff, and one of them is that you cannot badmouth the game at all. And obviously, like you wouldn't want someone to like criticize your game, but just by the fact that you have to agree not to criticize it and able to do the bounty is basically like you're getting paid to give it a good review, right? And I think that's
Yeah,
like
that's
something they
not the
want to
business
avoid.
practice that they're following.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, so magazines that you read that might be suitable, media outlets. Do you know someone in the media outlet that would cover this?
yeah.
Um, any ideas what they could do for the release that still is true to their principles? So that's a good example of why the bounty system would not be a good idea.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that like one potential avenue, and I know they did this to an extent when it went on Steam, but they could do it probably much larger when it's actually 1.0, is like sending keys out to like game review YouTube channels or something. Like not paying them to review your game, because then that's again like paying them to like say good things, but just say, here, check out our game, here's a key. And I mean, just by someone reviewing it, um, I mean, that's a ton of coverage. I mean, there's so many channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers that do game reviews.
Yeah, that could be a good avenue for exposure. And I mean, technically, they are paying them by giving them the key, but it's like $30. The people that are running those channels hopefully make way more than that, so that's not really a bribe.
Yeah, right, exactly. So yeah, I think this is just really interesting section. And
Yeah, it's nice to see something unrelated to development for a change, because
yeah,
we've been getting so many development related Friday Facts lately, which makes sense because they just released a major version. But it's a good change of pace to have something marketing related, which I don't think we've seen in quite a while.
not a very long time. So on this last section, breaking all the mods, basically they released 17.35 yesterday, and it included a change that broke a lot of mods, renaming the entity player to character. This was, if you're in any Factorio related Discord, I'm sure you saw that people were warning, don't go to this version because it literally broke like almost every single mod.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to break some of the commands that I use too. So,
Yeah, so
like,
they,
I like to reveal the map to see where I should expand to before I start a map,
oh yeah,
um,
and that's
and that uses game.player.
yep, same with I think Zoom command as well. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, so there's that. Inside the game engine, the previous naming scheme was a huge inconsistency because the terms are generally well defined. Player, the concept of the person controlling the game, doing input, playing the game. Character, the real little dude running around in the world. Um, Basically, a player can exist without a character, such as playing sandbox, and similarly, a character, which is an entity, can exist with or without an attached player. So having it named player led to a massive amount of collective confusion over the years, especially in regards to which methods can be called on the Lua entity and Lua player objects. Um, so basically, if you want to access a character's main inventory, the value is called inventory.playerMain. This makes it sound like it gives the main inventory of the player, but no, it gives the main inventory of the character. If you are in sandbox mode, using inventory.playerMain will not give the correct inventory. You'll need to use inventory.godMain. uh,
Yeah, that's just I know they did a Friday Facts a while back about naming conventions. This is just more of that.
yeah. Um, so basically, why
As
they.
Yeah, as for why they did it just now in 17.35, they just noticed it and they had these four options here.
Yeah.
Either change it for 18, which is kicking the can down the road.
Right.
Change it when 17 goes stable, which is even worse than kicking it down the road because um, then it's not technically stable. If in the next version, the next stable version of 17, it breaks it, that's not stable.
Yeah.
You should have changed it for 17. Well, yeah, hindsight is 2020, and then change it during experimental phase, which is what they just did.
Yeah, which makes sense. An experimental branch, stuff is going to break.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's like, it's not real. I mean, it broke a lot of mods, but it's not that difficult, like, of a fix for the modders. I mean, as long as they know when each thing needs to be used or whatever, they can just go into their code and just, like, I think, I'm not a programmer, but they should be able to just go in and copy replace, like,
yeah.
for the
The
most
way I would
part.
do this is just find and replace all
Yeah,
everywhere that you did game.player, do game.character.
right. So, I mean, it should be pretty easy fix.
Yeah,
Um,
it might have changes and like you might touch a lot of different files and a lot of different functions, but I mean, it's still one button click if you're using a text editor. Just replace all.
yeah. So they might make more mod breaking changes in upcoming experimental releases. We'd like to thank all the mod authors and experimental players for their understanding and patience as we work towards a full game. So, yeah, I think this was actually one of my favorite Friday facts. This marketing section was just super interesting, and I'm really excited to see like what they come up with and manage to do with the marketing for 1.0.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it too. Reading this section and seeing like on paper validation of their vision that I've always seen from them. That's been really uplifting.
Yeah, really, definitely agree. So that's gonna do it, guys. The Remnants are super cool. I can't wait till these are fully in the game, and I believe that's gonna do it. So, you have anything else to add?
I don't know if I'm ever going to see these remnants in game.
Oh, you're just that good. Your stuff just never
No,
dies.
well, not because I'm that good, because I always set the starting area to the biggest possible, and I always clear biter bases that are in range of my pollution. And
Yeah,
I
I
have
usually do too.
expansion off.
I do too, but you know what? When my stuff does die at some point, I want it to look nice. All right. So that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.